Amelia Vance, CEO of Vance Innovations, a name synonymous with sleek, minimalist tech, felt the biting chill of the late November air seeping through her designer coat. It was well past midnight, the city's pulse having slowed to a tired thrum, leaving only the relentless hum of distant traffic and the occasional shriek of a siren. Her heels clicked a sharp rhythm on the deserted sidewalk, each step a testament to another 16-hour day conquered. Amelia thrived on control, on data, on the precise execution of her meticulously crafted visions. Emotions, in her world, were liabilities, messy variables best left out of the equation. Her apartment, a penthouse cocoon of glass and steel overlooking the glittering metropolis, awaited, a sanctuary of ordered solitude. Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the deeper darkness of a recessed doorway. A hand, surprisingly firm, clamped onto her arm, sending a jolt of alarm through her. Her heart, usually a steady metronome of efficiency, lurched. Before she could react, before the self-defense training she'd grudgingly endured kicked in, a voice, raspy and urgent, cut through the night. "Keep walking." It wasn't a demand, not a threat, but a plea. Amelia froze, her gaze snapping to the man. He was tall, gaunt, his face obscured by the low brim of a baseball cap, but his grip, though firm, wasn't menacing. It was protective. Confused, Amelia tried to pull away, her irritation at the intrusion warring with a burgeoning sense of unease. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice sharper than intended. He didn't answer, merely tightened his grip almost imperceptibly and, with a subtle shove, guided her forward. She stumbled, regaining her balance, and he released her arm, fading back into the shadows of the doorway as quickly as he had appeared. Amelia spun around, a whirlwind of adrenaline and questions. "Hey," she called out, but he was gone. Then she heard it, a faint whimper, almost lost beneath the city's distant drone. It wasn't the man. It was smaller. Her eyes scanned the dark recess. Tucked into the deepest corner, huddled against the grime-streaked brick, was a tiny figure. A child. A girl, no older than 6 or 7, her knees drawn to her chest, her thin jacket offering little defense against the cold. Her hair, a tangled mess of chestnut brown, obscured most of her face, but Amelia could see the glint of wide, fearful eyes. The girl looked up, and for a fleeting moment, their gazes met. In those eyes, Amelia saw not just fear, but a profound weariness, a knowledge of the world far beyond her tender years. The irritation that had flared within Amelia moments before evaporated, replaced by a cold, unsettling dread. This was no ordinary encounter. This was something raw, heartbreaking. The man's strange warning echoed in her mind. Keep walking. But how could she? How could she walk away from this? The girl shivered, a small, involuntary tremor that seemed to shake Amelia to her core. Despite the biting cold, despite the late hour, despite every logical impulse urging her to retreat to her safe, predictable world, Amelia found herself taking a step closer. The city, usually a blur of ambition and deadlines, faded. All that remained was the small, trembling figure in the doorway and the inexplicable pull to offer something. Anything. Are you alone?" Amelia asked, her voice softer than she intended, the question feeling inadequate in the face of such stark vulnerability. The girl didn't answer, just burrowed deeper into herself, like a small, injured bird. The man's mysterious intervention, the child's silent plea, it was a dissonant chord struck in Amelia's carefully orchestrated life, an unexpected disruption that stirred something long dormant within her. Amelia knelt, her designer coat pooling around her on the cold pavement, a stark contrast to the grimy surroundings. The girl flinched, pulling her knees tighter. "It's okay," Amelia murmured, her voice a low, soothing balm against the harsh city sounds. "I won't hurt you. Are you hungry?" The simple question seemed to break through the child's defenses. A tiny nod, barely perceptible, was her only answer. "What's your name?" Amelia asked, trying to keep her tone light, unthreatening. The girl hesitated, then whispered, "Lily." Her voice was soft, fragile, like a dried leaf skittering across the concrete. Amelia's eyes scanned the street. No parents, no guardians. Just this tiny, vulnerable human adrift in the urban night. A wave of fierce protectiveness, entirely alien to her usual detached self, washed over her. She pulled out her phone, then paused. Calling the authorities felt like a betrayal, a sterile, bureaucratic solution to a deeply human problem. "Come on, Lily," she said, holding out a hand. "Let's get you something warm to eat." Lily looked at her hand, then up at Amelia's face, her eyes still wary but tinged with a flicker of something new, hope. Slowly, she uncurled herself, her small hand, surprisingly delicate, slipping into Amelia's. It was a connection that resonated deeper than any business deal or technological breakthrough Amelia had ever experienced. Back in her sterile, meticulously organized penthouse, Lily looked like a misplaced doll. Amelia watched her devour a bowl of warm soup, her small fingers clutching the spoon as if it were a precious artifact. Lily ate slowly, deliberately, as though savoring every spoonful. "Where are your parents, Lily?" Amelia asked gently, trying not to press. Lily swallowed, her gaze fixed on the steam rising from the bowl. "My mom, she went away. A long time ago. The man, he said I had to stay there. He comes sometimes. To watch." Amelia's heart clenched. The man. Was it the same man who'd warned her to keep walking? And who was he? A guardian, or something far more sinister? "What's the man's name?" Lily shrugged, a small, helpless gesture. "Just Mr. Silas." The name struck a faint chord in Amelia's memory, a distant echo from a past she'd long buried beneath layers of ambition. Silas, could it be? She dismissed the thought. Too much of a coincidence. She had no time for coincidences. The next morning, after Lily had fallen into a deep, dreamless sleep in the guest room, Amelia began her discreet investigation. She couldn't shake the unsettling feeling, the gnawing suspicion that this was more than a chance encounter. A quick search of public records revealed a Mr. Silas Blackwood, a low-level accountant who had once worked for her father's company, Vance Enterprises, decades ago. Her father had been a good man, but often too trusting. And there were rumors, whispers about irregularities just before his sudden illness and the subsequent collapse of the company. Amelia had been a teenager then, focused on her studies, determined to escape the shadow of her father's failed enterprise. Lily woke later, refreshed but still fragile. As she spoke about her life on the streets, her resilience shone through. She had learned to read by scavenging old newspapers, drawing intricate pictures with stolen crayons. She spoke of the man who sometimes brought her food, the same man who told her to keep walking from anyone who stopped near her hiding place. He was kind, she said, but always sad. Amelia showed Lily an old photograph from her childhood, a faded image of her parents and a young, round-faced Amelia. "Do you recognize anyone?" she asked, a strange premonition stirring within her. Lily's eyes widened, fixating on the woman in the photograph, Amelia's mother. She looks like a lady who used to visit," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. Before she went away." Amelia's breath hitched. Her mother, Eleanor Vance, had died when Amelia was young, a sudden, unexplained illness that had shattered her family and plunged her father into despair. Lily's words, so innocent, ignited a spark of possibility, a terrifying and exhilarating connection that went beyond serendipity. There was a secret here, a lost thread waiting to be unraveled, a truth buried beneath years of silence and grief. The more Lily spoke, the more Amelia felt a powerful, undeniable pull, as if destiny itself had led her to this small, courageous child. Lily was not just a vulnerable stranger. She was a key to a forgotten past, a past that suddenly felt intensely personal. The revelation about Lily's connection to her mother sent a tremor through Amelia. She immediately sought out Mr. Silas Blackwood, the former accountant. It took days of relentless searching, leveraging every connection Vance Innovations afforded her, but she finally found him. He was living a reclusive life in a small, run-down apartment on the outskirts of the city, a shadow of the man she vaguely remembered. When he opened the door, his eyes, weary and haunted, widened in recognition. "Amelia Vance," he rasped, his voice laced with a bitter resignation. "I knew this day would come." Silas, racked with guilt, confessed. He had been her father's trusted financial advisor, but her father, a man of immense kindness but little business acumen beyond his inventions, had been defrauded by a ruthless competitor. Eleanor, Amelia's mother, had discovered the extent of the betrayal and the competitor's connection to an illicit adoption ring. She had tried to expose them, but the corrupt system had turned on her. To protect Amelia and her unborn sibling, Lily, Eleanor had faked her death, a desperate act to disappear and shield her children from the powerful forces she was battling. She had entrusted Lily, then a newborn, to Silas, who was meant to take her to a safe, prearranged home. But Silas, manipulated and threatened by the very people Eleanor sought to expose, had been forced to abandon Lily in the streets, watched over by a network of sympathetic but scared individuals, including the mysterious man who'd warned Amelia. He had received regular, anonymous payments to ensure Lily's survival, a grim compromise for his complicity. The man who grabbed Amelia's arm that night was one of Eleanor's former contacts, still keeping a watchful eye on Lily, still protecting her from afar. Amelia's anger, a white-hot fury, burned through her. Her mother hadn't died. She had been erased. Lily wasn't an orphan. She was a lost sister. The antagonist, the corrupt institution that had shattered her family, now had a face. Armed with Silas's testimony and the fragments of evidence he had meticulously, secretly kept over the years, Amelia initiated a furious legal battle. She enlisted the best legal minds, her resources limitless, her resolve unshakable. The unscrupulous competitor and the adoption ring were systematically dismantled. Justice, slow and arduous, finally began to prevail. Testimonies from former victims and whistleblowers, emboldened by Amelia's fight, poured in. The man who had grabbed her arm that night, a former colleague of her mother's, also came forward, confirming Silas's story and detailing the underground network that had watched over Lily. The most crucial revelation came from a faded, encrypted journal Eleanor had left with Silas, containing a hidden compartment with a DNA sample and a heartfelt letter. The DNA test was a formality, yet seeing the results confirming Lily as her sister, a wave of profound emotion washed over Amelia. It was as if a missing piece of her soul had finally snapped into place. The letter, full of Eleanor's unwavering love and her desperate hope for her daughter's future, brought Amelia to her knees. Her mother had lived and died, a hero. The day Lily's adoption was finalized, it wasn't just a legal procedure. It was a profound act of healing. Amelia held Lily close, the child's small hand clutching her finger tightly. No longer a solitary CEO, Amelia had found her true purpose, a family forged in adversity and rediscovered love. 5 years later, Vance Innovations had not only continued to thrive, but had expanded into philanthropic ventures, specifically focusing on programs for vulnerable children and supporting whistleblowers. Amelia, once known for her ruthless efficiency, was now celebrated for her compassion and unwavering dedication to justice. Her life, once a sterile landscape of ambition, was now rich with the laughter and boundless energy of a vibrant, healthy 10-year-old girl. Lily, no longer the timid child from the cold doorway, blossomed under Amelia's love and guidance. She excelled in school, her innate intelligence shining brightly. She still drew, her art now filled with vibrant colors and joyful scenes. They often visited the small park near where Amelia had found Lily, a quiet tribute to the day their lives irrevocably intertwined. Silas Blackwood, having served a reduced sentence for his past complicity and fully cooperating with the authorities, was now a free man, a reformed soul who sometimes joined them for quiet dinners, forever grateful to Amelia for granting him a chance at redemption. Amelia would often watch Lily, her heart overflowing. She had built an empire, but it was in the quiet, ordinary moments with her sister, reading bedtime stories, teaching her to code, cheering at her school plays, that Amelia truly found her wealth. The dark night that began with a stranger's urgent plea had not been an interruption to her life. It had been its true beginning, leading her not only to her lost sister, but to the profound, unconditional love she never knew she was missing. The seemingly simple command to keep walking had, paradoxically, led her exactly where she needed to be, home. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.